Dr. Heavenly Kims was no stranger to the spotlight. As one of the standout Starson Bravos married to medicine, she had built a reputation not just for her successful dental practice, but for her bold, non-nonsense attitude and her loving role as a mother and wife. Fans had watched her juggle her career, her family, and her reality TV fame with what seemed like perfect balance. Her life was a carefully curated image of success and strength. But in the blink of an eye, the very image she had worked so hard to build was about to be shattered. And it all started with her son, Damon Kims. Junior, you won't believe how quickly the situation escalated. Damon, a young man many had seen grow upon television, suddenly found himself at the center of a storm of legal trouble. In February of 2023, something happened that no one expected. Damon was indicted on felony charges for aggravated assault against a law enforcement officer. The police officer, who was on duty at the time, was lucky enough to escape unharmed. But Damon's actions were considered reckless enough to make the authorities take this seriously. According to court documents, Damon had driven his car directly toward the officer. It seemed unbelievable. Could this really be happening to the son of one of TV's most outspoken and successful stars? The gravity of the allegations hit hard, not only because of the shocking nature of the crime, but also because of Damon's connection to his mother, Dr. Heavenly. She had always emphasized the importance of family, discipline and responsibility, values that her fans admired. Yet here she was, watching her son face charges that could completely change the course of his life. The incident wasn't just a random event. It was a wake-up call that something had gone terribly wrong. The case quickly became public and the news spread like wildfire. The Kims family was suddenly thrust into the kind of controversy they had always managed to avoid. The idea that Damon could be facing a felony charge was not just a personal blow. It was a public one as well. Fans and critics alike were left in disbelief. Was this a mistake? Had Damon lost his way? What had led him to make such a dangerous decision? Let me tell you, what came next was even more shocking. Despite the severe nature of the charge, Damon wasn't immediately thrown into the criminal trial process. Instead, there was a surprising twist. The prosecutors offered him an unusual opportunity, a chance to enter Fulton County's pretrial diversion program. This program was designed for defendants who showed potential for reform, giving them a chance to prove they could turn their lives around. To many, this seemed like a rare second chance. Damon's path forward wasn't set in stone. Instead of going straight to trial, he was given the chance to demonstrate that he could change. But here's where the story really took an unexpected turn. Damon was now on a tightrope. The pretrial diversion program was no easy escape. He had to meet stringent requirements, 40 hours of community service, mental health counseling, and other tasks designed to foster accountability and personal growth. He was even required to create a vision board and write a reflective essay about his life. These tasks seemed almost therapeutic, a far cry from the typical punishment a person might expect for such a serious crime. But what made this process so intense was the fact that it wasn't just about meeting those requirements. It was about proving that he had truly changed. If he failed at any point, if he didn't keep up with the program's demands, the felony prosecution could continue and the stakes would be incredibly high. As Damon entered the pretrial diversion program, the world watched with bated breath. Here was a young man, once just a familiar face on reality TV, now at a crossroads that would determine the direction of his life. It seemed like a second chance, an opportunity to start over, but the requirements were anything but easy. Damon had no choice but to fulfill them, or risk facing the harsh reality of a felony conviction that could haunt him for the rest of his life. Let me tell you, though, the pressure was mounting. The program demanded serious effort. 40 hours of community service, mental health counseling, and a strict check-in schedule. Damon had to prove himself, not just to the court, but to the world watching. He couldn't afford to mess up, and it wasn't just the legal consequences that hung over his head. It was the weight of his mother's reputation, the expectations of his family, and the very public nature of his struggles. For Damon, this wasn't just about avoiding a criminal record. It was about redemption, proving he could overcome his mistakes and rebuild his life. But would he rise to the occasion? or would he crumble under the pressure? The craziest part about this whole situation, the fact that Damon was in this position at all. If you had asked anyone just a few months ago, they would have told you that Damon seemed to have it all together. He was part of a family that appeared to be perfectly balanced with their success and values, often flaunted on Married to Medicine. But now, here he was facing a legal battle that could define his future. The family that had once been a symbol of stability was suddenly torn apart by scandal, and while Damon faced his own demons, Dr. Heavenly was left to deal with the fallout. Her role as a mother suddenly put under the spotlight in a way she had never anticipated. But there's the twist. The public didn't know the whole story. What made this situation so different wasn't just the legal drama, but the deeper layers of what was going on behind the scenes. Damon wasn't the only one affected by his actions. His entire family, especially Dr. Heavenly, was caught in the chaos. Despite her public persona, Dr. Heavenly was facing a personal battle, one that many fans could never have imagined. As a mother, her instinct was to protect her son. But as a public figure, she also had to navigate the scrutiny and judgment from the outside world. How would she handle this? Would she stand by Damon? Or would the weight of her own career and image come crashing down on her? As Damon worked his way through the program, every step he took felt like a high-stakes game. He had to stay on course or risk losing everything. If he didn't meet the program's strict conditions, the felony charge would be reinstated and he would face a full trial. Imagine the tension. One wrong move and his future could be shattered. This wasn't just about Damon anymore. This was about his family's legacy, his mother's image, and the path forward for someone who once seemed invincible, but was now grappling with the harsh reality of his mistakes. But there's where it gets interesting. Damon wasn't alone in this process. He was monitored closely with staff checking in on his progress and ensuring he stayed on track. The program's success rate was high, but it wasn't guaranteed. For Damon, the outcome depended entirely on his ability to prove himself, and not just to the court, but to everyone watching. If he stuck to the program's demands and emerged victorious, he could leave this chapter behind with a clean slate, free from the burden of villainy on his record. But if he failed, the road ahead would be much darker and the consequences would be severe. What made this story different wasn't just the legal system or the public's fascination with reality TV families. It was about redemption, second chances, and the very real stakes that Damon faced. The world was watching, waiting to see if he would seize this opportunity or fall into the same patterns that led him here in the first place. Could he truly change? Or was this just a temporary reprieve before the inevitable crash? As the weeks went by, the tension grew. Damon's every move was scrutinized, not just by the courts, but by his fans and critics alike. Was he truly capable of turning his life around, or was he destined to repeat the mistakes of his past? As his time in the diversion program continued, the story was only just beginning. With each passing day, the question remained. Would Damon be able to rise from the ashes of this scandal? Or would this moment define him forever? As Damon continued his journey through the pre-trial diversion program, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a legal matter. It was a personal reckoning. The requirements of the program were strict, but they weren't just about fulfilling obligations. They were about transformation, about making real meaningful changes in his life. Every month, Damon had to meet with program staff, check in on his progress, and reflect on his growth. It wasn't just about community service or counseling. It was about proving that he had learned from his mistakes and that he was truly capable of turning his life around. This is where it gets interesting. While many people might view this as a simple second chance, for Damon, it was a battle against everything that had led him to this point. It wasn't just the legal trouble, the felony charge, or the family drama. It was about confronting the patterns in his life, the things he'd brushed aside, the mistakes he had made, and the demons he had been running from. Damon had been given an opportunity that most people never get, a chance to rebuild himself, to start fresh. But would he take it? But here's the shocking part. The stakes weren't just about Damon's future. This was about his family's legacy as well. Dr. Heavenly had built a reputation around being a strong, successful, and loving mother. She had always worked hard to keep her family together, to project an image of stability and success. But now everything she had worked for was age risk. While Damon was the one facing the legal consequences, Dr. Heavenly's public image was also on the line. Would she continue to stand by her son? Or would she distance herself from the scandal that was rapidly consuming their lives? The craziest part, the fact that Damon was getting this second chance at all. In many cases, people who face charges like Damon's don't get a shot at rehabilitation. They go straight to trial. And the outcome can be